everyone, my name is Joseph Appiah. I'm a trainer at Debt Free Advice. My job is to design and deliver training courses which help debt advisors provide high-quality debt advice. Today, I'm here to talk to you about how we can help you to deal with your debts and tell you a bit about debt options. When you come to see a debt advisor at Debt Free Advice, we will first talk to you about your circumstances so we can find out what debts you have and how you are managing your finances. By doing this, we can help establish which debt options might be suited for you. We will also ask you what your goals are, whether you are struggling to make payments towards your debts, or if you're also struggling to make payments towards essential costs such as your food or energy bills. When deciding on the best options to deal with your debts, we need to consider the following questions. First, are you liable or responsible for the debt? If the debt is not yours or wasn't made under your name, you are not responsible for repaying it. But you may be jointly and severally liable. For example, if you take out a joint debt, you and the other person both become responsible for the whole amount, not just your own share or half. If one of you can't or won't pay, you're both liable for the full debt, no matter which one of you spent the money. If the debt is more than 6 years old and you or anyone who is jointly liable for the debt has not had contact with the creditor or made any repayments for over 6 years, the creditor may not be able to enforce the debt. A debt advisor can support and assist you to challenge a debt if, for example, you think the amount the creditor says you owe is wrong, the credit agreement is unenforceable, or the creditor has treated you unfairly. What are the consequences of not repaying your debts? The short answer to this question is it depends on the debt. Debts are categorized as priority and non-priority. A priority debt is one where the consequence for not paying is most serious. So you may lose your home if you have rent or mortgage arrears, lose essential services if you have energy arrears, get sent to prison if you have council tax arrears. This would not happen if you genuinely cannot afford to pay. Only people who deliberately refuse to pay or are negligent may be sent to prison. There are options for dealing with priority debts, but if you can, you should try to negotiate with the creditor to repay the debt in affordable installments so that they stop taking action to enforce repayment. Non-priority debts, such as credit cards, unsecured loans, or overdrafts, have less serious consequences but can still have an impact on your life, reducing the amount you might have to live on, your ability to borrow money in the future, and of course, your credit rating. Do you have any disposable income to make an affordable offer to repay your debts? Most creditors are open to offers to repay by installments. A debt advisor may be able to negotiate with creditors for you and get them to freeze interest and default charges, enabling you to pay your debts more quickly. If you have no disposable income, no assets, and your income is unlikely to increase in the near future, a debt advisor can still work with you to find an insolvency option or debt solution, and that might include asking the creditor to write off the debt. Do you have any assets that you can sell to repay your debts? You might have an item of value that you no longer need and can sell, using the profit to repay your debts. If this is the case, then it might be possible to negotiate a reduced repayment and make an offer as full and final settlement. Are you insolvent? Insolvent means that you are unable to repay your debts when the payments become due. A debt advisor can help you establish this by drafting your personal financial statement. If your financial statement confirms that you are insolvent, then your debt advisor will explain which insolvency options are available, what criteria you need to meet each one, and support and assist you to access the right option for you. Your debt advisor will also make clear to you the consequences, advantages, and disadvantages of each debt option. We might work out a strategy for you that includes more than one debt option that meets your goal. For each debt option, we consider what type of debt you have and the amount of each debt if you have more than one. We have to advise you on whether or not the option will allow you to become debt-free, and if so, how long that might take, as well as how the debt option works. Once we have worked through these considerations with you, there are a number of options that may be available to you, which we will talk through now. One option is a moratorium or a payment holiday. This is an option that can be considered for any debt of any amount. It's usually a short-term option and won't reduce the amount you owe and won't make you debt-free. It works by asking the creditors to agree to no payment and to take no further action on the debt for a short period, usually no more than 3 months. You can also ask the creditor to stop any interest or charges, so your debt doesn't increase during the moratorium. It gives you time to work with your debt advisor to establish your financial situation, to identify and consider all the options available to you. It also gives you time to work on your budget, make any necessary changes to maximize your income, and reduce your outgoings. However, it does not resolve your debt issues. Interest and charges may continue to increase, so your debts may continue to grow. There is now a formal form of moratorium called breathing space. An application is made formally by a debt advisor on your behalf. This is to ask your creditors to stop recovery action for a period of 60 days to allow you to explore other long-term options to deal with your debts. You have to work with a debt advisor during this period, but it allows you to have a break from worry and anxiety. It's a free option, and your debt advisor may also be able to negotiate with your creditors not to add any interest or charges. If you have mental ill health and are receiving help from a qualified mental health professional, there's a mental health breathing space that might be able to help you. If you only have council tax arrears, you could be eligible to make an application to the council to apply for your council tax arrears to be written off. This is usually referred to as a Section 13A application. The council must respond with their decision within 14 days. If the council agrees, the arrears are written off immediately. There are criteria attached to the application that you must meet, but your debt advisor can help you with this. Each council will have its own criteria. This option doesn't involve any court and doesn't affect your credit rating and doesn't cost anything to apply. If your financial statement provides evidence to your creditors that you have no disposable income, as a gesture of goodwill, you can offer a token or small amount. This is usually £1 a month. It will not reduce the amount you owe and will not make you debt-free, but it can be a short-term option for any debt of any amount. Creditors will ask you to review your financial situation periodically to make sure you can't afford to pay more. If creditors agree, then they will usually stop enforcement action. However, it doesn't resolve your debt issues, as debts may continue to increase as interest and charges may continue to grow. If you have more disposable income to offer, then you might consider a pro rata offer or informal debt management plan to your creditors. This option can be used for any unsecured debt of any amount. However, there is no time limit on this option, so it may take a long time for you to become debt-free. Your financial statement calculates your disposable income. That's the amount left over after you've paid all of your normal essential living costs. and this is split equally between your creditors. Your advisor can provide you with a table showing how much you will pay to each creditor and for how long. Payments to priority creditors are made first, and you can change payments if your circumstances change. However, if you have a lot of creditors, this can be difficult to manage, as you will pay each creditor a different sum each month, and paying off your debts in full may take a long time. This is an informal option that is recognized by the courts and widely accepted by creditors. If creditors agree, then they will usually stop enforcement action. Creditors may refuse offers unless made by an advice agency. Creditors may refuse your offers so the debt may continue to increase. If you have a lot of debts and have enough disposable income to make reasonable payments, you could consider consolidating your debts into one loan. You can include most debts, but you won't be debt-free until the loan has been paid off. This option works by borrowing one amount from one creditor to repay all of your debts at a lower interest rate than you are currently being charged, so that your debts are repaid sooner. You make a single payment, so it's easier to manage and your payments will reduce. So although you will not become debt-free immediately, your debts will be more manageable. However, consolidation loans can be difficult to get, especially if you don't have a good credit rating. A full and final settlement can be made when you have enough money to make a reasonable offer to your creditor, but it is less than the amount owed. If the creditor agrees to this, then the debt will be paid off quickly, but the debt will stay on your credit reference file. If your debt advisor identifies that you have good evidence to submit to creditors to ask for your debts to be fully or partially written off, then this is an option that could be available for any unsecured debt. The write-off happens as soon as the creditor agrees to it. Your personal circumstances and financial statement will show whether this is an option that is open to you, but you might have to provide personal or sensitive information about your physical or mental ill health, often from a medical professional, to support your request, so it can be difficult to persuade creditors. If this is something that could work for you, then it could give you a fresh start, as no further action is taken by the creditors to enforce the debt. But all creditors might not agree, and the debts might still appear on your credit file for up to 6 years, or they might just agree not to pursue the debt for the time being. There are also formal insolvency options that we can consider if your circumstances meet the criteria. Debt relief orders, also known as DROs, can deal with most unsecured debts, but you must be unable to repay your debts, have less than £75 per month disposable income, and assets worth less than £2,000. A DRO can deal with up to £30,000 worth of debts, but this is the total for all of your debts. However, some debts may not be written off by a DRO, such as student loans, court fines, or child maintenance, among others. An advisor will let you know whether your debts can be included in a DRO or not. Most debts usually can. A DRO could be a good option if you have a few assets, little spare income, and rent your home. As most debts are included, there is no involvement by a court, and your debts are written off after 1 year, allowing you a fresh start. This is a formal option, which means it will be listed on your credit reference report, and so it will affect your credit rating. Most people don't want to consider bankruptcy, as it used to have a stigma attached to it. However, for some people, this is a good formal option if you have no assets and rent your home, as there's no limit to the amount of debt that can be included. Also, because most people are discharged from bankruptcy after 1 year. However, the fees are quite high at nearly £700, and you can have limits placed on you, for example, on how much credit you can get. The amount of disposable income you can have and keep per month is £20. Your credit report and credit rating will also be affected. An individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA for short, is an alternative to bankruptcy as the restrictions are less severe. It's a formal agreement between you and your creditors if you have a steady income stream to pay your creditors. Usually, you need debts of at least £8,000 and at least £100 per month disposable income for this to be a viable option. After a fixed period of 5 to 6 years, the creditors agree to write off any remaining debts once the final payment is made. But be sure to check how much fees you will be paying before you agree to this option. If you own your home, you might have to remortgage it to release the equity at the end of the IVA. An administration order deals with a minimum of 2 debts, but with a maximum value of only up to £5,000, and one of these must be a county court judgment. The order usually spreads payments to creditors over 3 years. As it's a formal debt option administered by the county court, they will order you to pay an affordable amount to repay your debts. You must do a 1 monthly repayment, which is paid to the court, who distributes the money to the creditors on a pro rata basis each month. This means that your debts are repaid at an affordable rate, no further enforcement is allowed by the creditors, and interest and charges are frozen so the debt doesn't increase. However, your payment includes a 10% fee to the court. These are the range of debt options that can help you resolve your debts. Remember, the sooner you speak to us, the sooner your debt issues can be resolved. Here are the ways you can reach us. Go to www.debtfreeadvice.com to find out our face-to-face and advice hub locations across London, or to video chat with an advisor. You can also call or WhatsApp us on 0800 808 5700. I hope this webinar has been useful. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.